So the topic that I wanted to delve into today is a progression of what I've been talking about the last couple of weeks on my channel, which is the wider topic of gut health. And if you haven't watched my two recent videos, I will link them in the description box below. But these are three questions that I've been asked specifically by MEN1 patients about gut health, and they centre around the subtopics of IBS-like symptoms, gut problems in general, linking those to MEN1, and then what to do as a result. So I've called this video MEN1, Stress and IBS, What I Know. The first question I'm going to answer is, I've got it written down here, have you ever had IBS symptoms and you're not sure whether it's MEN1 or IBS? So yes and yes. I first had IBS-like symptoms back in, I was about 14 or 15. I was sitting my GCSE mock exams, and that was the first time I'd ever experienced digestive issues. And these actually carried on throughout the latter half of my youth, into my early teens. I took them with me to university. Just because everyone says, oh, they're normal. It's so normal to feel bloated or to, need to go to the loo really often. I just never really thought anything of it until it suddenly got to the point where I was like, actually, this is beginning to really affect my life, and mentioned it to my endocrinologist and was told it was very unlikely to do with MEN1. A couple of years later, I went back and I said the same thing. I said, I've still got these symptoms and I don't know where they're coming from. And they said, okay, well, we will test you for something called pancreatic enzyme insufficiency, which is, in layperson terms, a way of explaining that sometimes after pancreatic surgery, which is what I'd had, and this was the second time I'd had it, sometimes the pancreas can leak certain juices and it can muck up digestion. So I was referred through the NHS from my endocrinologist to see a dietitian. This dietitian spoke to me, did some blood tests. Very interestingly, for a dietitian, asked nothing about my diet, but said, there's no pancreatic enzyme insufficiency, we can't help you. So I was discharged from diet and then went back to endocrinology. I then thought, well, this is a closed door, I'm not going to push it any further. And then it was about 2 or 3 years after that when I was made aware of what we know now as kind of at-home gut health testing. So these companies like Zoe, Randox is another one, and intolerance testing as well. I was made aware of this. I was also made aware of other parts of medicine, not just conventional, traditional, although it's fantastic and it has its place. And I ended up pursuing my gut-related problems with what's called a functional medicine practitioner. Functional medicine basically means, for anyone who doesn't know, approaching disease from the root cause rather than curatively. And there's a massive focus on gut health. So when I first went to work with this functional medicine doctor, I explained to him I had these gut issues. They couldn't be linked to MEN1, but I wanted to see what else could be behind it. As it happens, he could find something else behind it. But as I started to make the changes that he gave to me, as I started to put things in place, I realised where there couldn't be a very obvious medical scientific link between the gut symptoms I was having and MEN1. It is my belief, this is a personal belief, no one's told this to me, my belief that nothing in the body is unlinked. So I think that's another way of saying everything in the body is linked. So even though when I go to a specialist, or if I go to a specialist in MEN1, an endocrinologist, an eologist, and I say, I've got these gut symptoms and I also have MEN1, it's very understandable that they're going to say there's no link. But actually, depending on different people who you speak to, that answer might be different. And as I say, my firm belief is that everything in the body happens because of kind of tiny little cogs that are wearing or stop wearing in certain places in the mechanism, which is the body. So that is my experience of having IBS symptoms, of being told that it's not related to MEN1, embarking down a different path, but realizing that actually the best way to approach my health, if I was going to have any influence on MEN1, was to do it holistically. And the gut symptoms, whilst I cover this area of my health with a functional medicine practitioner and on a kind of official basis, this functional medicine practitioner doesn't interfere with MEN1. In my opinion, there is absolutely a crossover. It's just that I'm not sure where to put my finger on it. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and that's what I know so far. And I hope that that is helpful in answering that question. Question number 2. I have no known tumours, and Zoe says my gut microbiome is healthy. For anyone who doesn't know, Zoe is a company that was started by Professor Tim Spector, along with a couple of other business partners, to provide at-home gut health testing for general people, so that you didn't have to go into the hospital and get it done. I have no known tumours. I'm presuming that's MEN1 tumours, but I don't know. Zoe says my gut microbiome is healthy, yet I have a really bad tummy. Okay, few different bits to unpick in here. The first thing I'd say is fabulous to have no known tumours. As far as I'm aware, and this is from people that I've worked with as well as myself, these gastrointestinal lesions or tumours, as they're sometimes referred to in MEN1, can muck up the digestive processes. So that is something that a practitioner might flag up or look out for, and can be worth checking over. The second part, Zoe says my gut microbiome is healthy, yet I have really bad tummy. So I actually filmed, I'm chuckling to myself, I filmed an entire video last week on at-home gut health testing kits, such a mouthful, and I'm going to link it in the description box below, because there I share my opinion on why I feel these are effective and why I feel they're not so effective. So I'm not going to cover that in detail here, but what I am going to say is that it is very possible that the Zoe test or any gut health test hasn't picked up on what it could be that's causing someone's tummy to not feel great. It covers a lot of different areas: blood sugar, gut microbiome, blood lipids, but there are many things it doesn't look at. So just for example, like gut intolerances, which comes actually from a leaky gut. Zoe doesn't look at that. And there are other tests available to look at that. So that could be that this person's bad tummy actually doesn't have to do with something that Zoe covers. But I don't know, because I don't know this person individually. So take that as you will. Question number 3. I'm not stressed. I wouldn't consider myself stressed or anxious as a person, but seemingly randomly, my stomach decides to bloat up or hurt. I am chuckling because, oh my goodness me, 5 years ago, you would have heard me say the same thing, or maybe even 10 years ago. It's funny because I told you that my gut symptoms flared up during my GCSE mocks. I also am not a stressed or anxious person, but that's when my gut symptoms started. And actually I got through my GCSEs, I felt, without a lot of stress. What I'm going to say here is that we are all stressed and anxious people. We're all stressed, we all have stress, we all have anxiety, and it's the body deals with it in different ways. Some people have panic attacks, some people just stick their head in the sand, some people have gut symptoms, and that was the case with me, but I just didn't know that that's what the link was. So what I would say in this case is, don't, just because you don't experience stress or anxiety in the same way as is portrayed by social media, by mental health organisations, the way you see it in your friends or in your family, don't underestimate that your body will be dealing with stress and anxiety, probably more than it's meant to cope with. And the first place that will take the hit is the gut, because that's the kind of center of our emotional body, if that makes sense. And I'm going to pull out this word randomly. Nothing, in my opinion, again, no one's told me this, nothing in the body happens randomly. Sometimes we just don't know why. And so instead of saying, I don't know why, or we don't know why, we say random. That to me is incorrect in my experience, because the longer I've sat with something, the more I've delved into it, the more I've dug into it, the more I have, or the closer I've come to an answer, or being able to at least help myself, even if I don't know what the answer is. Okay, those are all the questions I'm going to answer right now. I will link those other 2 videos in the description box below. You'll also find there a link to join my close community. Basically, I am moving off social media almost completely into my my close community, with whom I connect via email. I'll be staying on YouTube creating videos. I have my blog as well, but if you're not yet on my mailing list getting my email updates, sign up via the link below. It's basically where everything goes first. It's where the best stuff goes, and it's where I can have like the most authentic conversation with you. So head there if you haven't already. Have an amazing week. If you have ideas for my next video, don't hesitate to leave a comment, ping me an email. You're welcome to reach out in any way, shape or form. But I just wish you the most empowering week ever, and we'll connect soon.